Hello, English 110 is Professor Sasso. I wanted to take a minute as we move into this weekend where you have to write your very first essay. I want to make sure that you're using all the resources that are available to you and that this project isn't too overwhelming for you. So I want to start off by saying that by the time you got to this first essay, you really should have spent some time researching your topic. And when you go back to your research, what we're looking for is the ability to answer that question, okay, what are people arguing about and what is the conflict surrounding my topic? That's number one. We should have been able to figure that out by now. So your thesis statement really is set up around the main conflict about vaccinations in America right now is whether we should vaccinate at the level that we're vaccinating or not, right? It might not even be that for that particular topic that it's all about to vaccinate or not. It might be just the level that we're vaccinating is what people are arguing about. So remember, when we're talking about central conflict, it's about what people are arguing about with your topic. So you want to be able to identify that right away in your thesis statement when you set up your essay. The second thing I've asked you to find is like the 3 to 4. 3 is always a really good number to structure your essay with. So like the 3 to 4 main things you think that we need to know in order to understand that conflict. And some of that you might find after you did your topic summary, after your first research exercise. I asked you to do the who, what, where, when, how, why of your topic. That might be a really good place to start. And depending on your topic, the who or the what or the when is more important maybe than the other things. But you want to think about, okay, if I had to structure my essay and I really could only tell my audience 3 main things about this conflict, what do I need to tell them? So if it's about vaccinations in America, maybe the place you start with that is, okay, well, I need to tell you how they developed, right? That's a really important thing for us to know as we start to read your paper about vaccinations. So you might dedicate those first 2 body paragraphs to, okay, here's some of the history about vaccinations in America. Maybe you also want to be able to tell us that there's different vaccinations and some are more problematic than others. So your second main point might be that we need to know about the types of vaccinations. And then the third main point might be about, the who, the different groups that have sprung up that have said, here's where we see conflict, and maybe there's a particular incident that sparked this conflict, and maybe that's the last thing you want to talk about in your paper is this incident that sparked this major conversation. So there you have 3 sort of main focus areas for the paper, and I always say that you should write 2 paragraphs per focus area. So each of those main points then could be broken down into 2 paragraphs. And as I said in my introduction to the week, if you can write a good paragraph, you can write a good essay. And sometimes it's all about taking in those smaller chunks. So if you review the short essay guide and you look at the student sample I posted, you'll notice that really they've built these really strong paragraphs. And a strong paragraph, even though it sounds like a ton of sentences, is about 8 to 10 sentences. And that's because you're taking outside research and inserting it into your paragraph. So some of that outside research is not your voice, it's somebody else's. So we sort of want to balance your voice with the voice of your outside research and have enough of both. So when you look at the paragraph, you really just make a decision about what that paragraph's about. So if we use the structure that we used for vaccinations, that first paragraph might be some of the important moments in the history of vaccinations. That may be what that whole paragraph's about. So you would set that up in your topic sentence. You would add some research that shows these important moments. You'd analyze that research and you'd move on to your next quote. I say that all paragraphs should have 2 citations from your research. And between those citations really is your own voice. You're saying why this piece of information is important for your essay. And then always you're kind of summing up and moving on to your next point in that last sentence of the paragraph. So I think a really good, strong first essay will have 6 body paragraphs, and will have an intro and I'll have a conclusion. The intro is sort of all about setting up the paper, and I think it's really smart to write the intro last. You might not yet know kind of where this paper is going to take you. But in the intro, you should at least have an idea of what your thesis is and your main points, because those are going to set up the roadmap for the paper. And the conclusion is kind of all about reminding us what work you did in the body of the essay, and then leaving us with some impact. So I always say a quote or a story or an anecdote that might leave your reader with an lasting impact about your topic. And the last essay that we write is the next essay that we write is going to be the compare and contrast, when we look at the major arguments from both sides. So you want to think about, as you transition out of the first essay, you're kind of transitioning into the second essay, which you might say, now that we've examined the conflict, here are the two major sides. And then the next essay will actually look at those. Your first essay should not be talking about the sides or the arguments. It really should be providing basic information so that we can understand, as we move further along in your topic, the information that we need to get where we're going. So it's kind of about that paragraph building. And also, it's the first time that you're going to be using research and putting it directly into your paper. So a few resources I want to make you aware of, if you haven't found them already. I realized that it would be kind of a good idea to do a walkthrough of MLA with you. So you'll see now under Learning Modules, Assigned Reading Materials, there is a Jing walkthrough, my audio walkthrough of the MLA guide. And it's hard to look at that MLA guide and make sense of it. It's kind of like a math equation. So what that walkthrough does is tell you how to cite if you have an author, if you have an article, or if you have a website. So it's really kind of a crash course in MLA. But I also want you to use Al Purdue's site. Is so good. It is a site done by Purdue University. It's the leading online site for citations for both APA, MLA, and just basic writing mechanics. So it's a site I really want to introduce you to as we move into the actual composition of your essays. So use that site. Al Purdue is there as well. And then the other side of that is that you're actually going to be composing an essay for the first time. So what I try to do is give you what's called a short essay guide. And this is going to be your guide for all of your essays. And what the guide does, if you haven't looked at it yet, is it kind of breaks up the different requirements that we expect to see in an essay. So it starts with kind of how you set the paper up, how long it should be, what format it should be in. It talks a lot about, it reminds you how to do in-text citations, how to create a works cited sheet. It talks about how to edit a paper. And then it does a really nice breakdown of what we're expecting to see in the composition of the paper. So what should be in an intro, what should be in a body paragraph, what should be in a conclusion. So I highly, highly recommend that you look at that guide. It's what we're going to be using for all of our essays. And the only difference is kind of our thesis statement is going to change throughout. So we're going to be examining different things, but your short essays should look very much the same in terms of formatting and how many paragraphs you have and how those paragraphs are set up. So there's also a walkthrough of that. And I highly suggest you listen to me walk you through those things because they do really make more sense when I'm explaining it to you rather than just like giving you a sheet to read. So this week is really all about writing that first essay and using all the resources you need in order to do that. Please use those guides that I just talked about, the MLA guide and the short essay guide. Please also go out and use Al Purdue if you're not understanding how to cite from MLA. The chapters that you're reading are all about paragraphs and about MLA. So I want you to just use MindTap this week as a good resource to writing your paper. Then once you've written it, you're submitting it right to that assignments portal where you just attach the document and hit submit, and I can see your first essay. So I really do want it to be in a Word document that you attach and upload so it's in all the right formatting. So you would submit that to assignments, and then I'm also asking you, after you're done with your essay, to post it to the discussion board. We haven't set up the peer review discussion board yet, but we will next week, so your paper will already be there when we have to assign different people to peer review it. The only other thing this week, I think, is, I'm trying to think. Something popped into my brain and just left really quickly. You have the reading assignment, you have the essay, you have the posting it to the discussion board. I think those are the major things we're going to have you do this week. So I really encourage you, if you're really struggling to write this first essay, to come see me. We can set up an appointment so we can look at it together. And just remember, this is a draft. So all of your drafts are out of 25 points. We want to see that you made a good attempt at this. But we have chances to improve this as we move along. So if your MLA is not perfect or you have some mechanical errors, we can find those and work on them. If you're missing some of the content that you need, we can work on that as well. So I wish you luck in your first essay attempt. Please use all the resources that are available to you. Feel free to call me, email me, come into my office. And remember, these assignments aren't due till Monday because we did have the holiday last week. So Monday by midnight, we should be seeing those essays post to the assignments into the discussion board. All right, well, good luck. Stay warm, stay focused. This is a really important week because it is the week where we kind of take what we've practiced so far and we put it into an essay. It's also a week where students are starting to feel really overwhelmed with the amount of work that maybe they still have to do. So just the best thing to do is stay in touch with me and let me know where you are and if you need more support. Okay, have a great weekend. I will check back in with you and let me know if you need anything. Okay.